So Houthis, of course, as always, are trying to attack Israel, trying to strike at Israel, and unfortunately, one of the rockets actually managed to sort of go through the Iron Dome. I'm not sure if we know fully what's happened. If it's just, I think the official story, at least still, is sort of that some malfunction happened and it didn't trigger properly. Luckily, and it hit Ben Gurion Airport, although the way I tried to check where exactly it was, and it wasn't really sort of in the dangerous area, and luckily it didn't strike an airplane or anything in that regard, so luckily nobody died. But the fact is that this did happen, and Netanyahu is calling for something, and sort of simultaneously there is calling for basically bigger or something big to happen in Gaza, which is what actually we'll be discussing on the reality show. Today we'll discuss more the strike and sort of things around it. Joining me today is Alex. Welcome to the Daily Objective. And so for those who know, I am actually in Israel, so I actually did experience the siren and I actually heard the strike itself, which I can talk about a little bit. But yeah, Alex, any opening thoughts for this?
Yeah, it's really crazy because you told me I heard the intercept. You said I heard the interception. You naturally assumed it had been intercepted. And I said, oh, so did I. That you were staying somewhere I would say is probably like 50, at least 50 miles away. Um, and I don't live close at all. I mean, close at all, right? I don't live near, like I live 30 miles away at least from the airport, right? So it was it must have I mean, I can only imagine what that was like for because I naturally assumed that because of the way that kind of the acoustics work, right? Whenever you're hearing something being, intercepted a mile above your heads, that it just kind of would reverberate. So I naturally kind of was like that kind of would make sense to me. But can you imagine what that was like for those people, right, who were actually there, what they heard? That they must have thought like this is the end because it was so loud. And it just what can I say? And yeah, so I heard that it landed 300 meters from the kind of the end of a runway, which in the middle of an open field. So kind of incredible that that managed to happen and didn't hit like a residential building, right, and just take it down or something, or it didn't hit a plane and then you would have a fireball, and a fireball, obviously everyone in the plane would have been gone and then it would land on someone. So in terms of how bad things could have been, it was bad, but it wasn't. Um, yeah, it was it was cheap, right? It was we got off lightly.
Yeah, and sort of from my own experience, so you recommended me to get the app. I don't even know what it's called.
Red alert.
Uh, yeah, Red Alert.
Hmm.
Yeah, basically, it's like an app where you get notifications sort of before
Hmm.
something happened, or before the sirens sort of go off. So yeah, one morning. Wait, was it yesterday or the day before? Yesterday, right? The strike.
Yeah, it was yesterday. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
yesterday in
yeah.
the morning. Hmm.
Yes, it was yesterday, and I got the alert, right? So I'm putting on the pants just to see, if there is an actual siren, I can sort of run a bit quicker. And yeah, then there is the actual siren. I sort of go down the stairs, go completely down. I was basically at the top of the building. I had to go completely from down. And yeah,
Hmm.
then when I was somewhere at the bottom, you could hear like it was loud as hell.
Hmm.
And yeah, I could exactly tell where it was like coming from, which was interesting. And yeah, then I'm not sure if you let me know what the strike actual was, or if I learned it later. But yeah, the fact that something like this is still happening, like the fact that the Houthis are sort of like still in the game, like this is something that can happen. This is something that you sort of like have to experience. I mean, generally, the fact that this is like this sort of like fact of life that Israelis like have to go through. That yeah, you just might get a siren every
Yeah.
now and then. Some of them might maybe nothing happens. Some of them, maybe hit, but maybe still sort of nothing happens. But yeah, this like this tremendous or this like constant basically fear
Mhm.
of yeah, just being in that kind of state of mind. I'm surprised that sort of like Israelis are able to like do any sort of projection into the future with these like immediate threats, sort of maybe not necessarily on the border, but in like a striking distance.
Hmm. Yeah, and to be honest though, like I would say that we as in like we're not used to it, as in it's so like 15 years ago, right? Like we were in the Gaza Museum today, right? The Gush Katif Museum. So you heard about them talking about one of their wars, or like one of their kind of periods of time, and they said, "Oh, can you believe it? We've had 5,000 rockets or 13,000 rockets." And I was like, "Wow, we would get that within the course of like, a few days now." Because, eventually it ended up that we would have these, in Tel Aviv, right? We would have these month-long um wars, right? But they would be shooting like 200 projectiles at once. So just like the and those are like really crappy like Gaza missiles, okay? So it's just the proliferation and also the kind of the increasing amounts of, kind of le lethality, right? Because now we're not seeing like crappy Qassams, okay? Because they used to kill like kids and animals and they would injure people, okay? But it was a psychological terror. But now we're seeing full ballistic missiles. So it's just kind of the threat level and the desensitization of the threat level is really getting much worse. Um, and we feel much, but it's funny because we feel much safer, which is quite interesting. Like, I mean, when I say feel much safer, as in I remember the meltdowns that people used to have over like a couple of rockets, and now it's like barely sort of like registers. Like it's just not a big deal. I'm not talking the ballistic missiles. Um, like the ballistic missiles, like the Iranian ballistic missiles, it was a big deal because we didn't know what to expect. We were sort of like, this could be really bad, or this could be, or maybe they're really accurate, maybe they're whatever. Um, but now that you what makes me like kind of what makes me kind of most worried is the suppose that I think that it's becoming a way of life, and I think that is so dangerous. Because okay, fine, that we incorporated the Qassam rockets right into our lives, into our reality, and then we eventually and that was the people who were living in Gush Katif incorporated it, and then the people in Sderot, they incorporated it, and then the people in Tel Aviv incorporated it. And so we're just sort of, and then the missiles are getting more lethal, more of them, right, for them to overwhelm the defenses. So it's no matter what the defenses are, the enemy has the upper hand, because all the enemy has to do is figure out how to evade them, right? Is how to evade your defenses. He figures out your defenses after a while. Not after a while. I mean, it's pretty short. I mean, how long did it take Hamas to realize? How long did it take Hamas to realize? Hang on, we can't shoot one or two rockets at Tel Aviv. We have to shoot 200, right? That's the magic number for the Iron Dome to be, overwhelmed. And also for them to realize, okay, that we can't get through the underground wall. so we can take bulldozers, right, and just drive through, right, the border. So it's the enemy has the upper hand in that sense. So the only actual defense is to completely destroy your enemies and make it that it's too expensive, right? That the price that they um that we exact for it, right, has to be far too it has to be far too extreme that they would ever think about messing with us. And not just kind of like, oh, they just want a better life, or oh, they just want to have good economic, prosperity. No, if what they're terrified of is their dictatorship, so they're frightened of losing their, support within the general population, that's what you have to go after. Or if they're frightened of being tossed out, you have to go after that then. You have to go after something, because the price that we have exacted and we do exact is just not high enough.
Uh, we have a super chat from Bonnie. Thank you so much. We have a few people wishing me happy birthday. Thank you so much. Yeah, it is my birthday. And someone says, I look tired. It's just a really bad lighting. So I had to put artificial sort of like a light into me, which really exaggerates my what you call them, eye bags. But no, I'm doing really good. Really enjoying Jerusalem right now. Seeing a bunch of protests, which if that comes to the news, maybe we can talk about that again, since we were actually part of it and we have
We were a part of it.
footage.
Yeah, we were part of it twice now. Yeah, so don't anybody say that I don't show anybody a good time when they come to visit the great city of Jerusalem. Okay, we saw two wonderful protests, and one of them is still going on. So
And yeah, but to sort of return to that, yeah, I mean, this whole idea, like I think I told this story before. The first day I checked in Tel Aviv, you get, here is the check-in time, here is the check-in time, here is the bomb shelter, and that is sort of
Mhm,
like among the information sort of, and
mhm,
and yeah, that kind of thing that is sort of like being like a normal, yeah, that yeah, everybody has a bomb shelter, everybody has this app, so we can control, every now and then a few terrorists sort of infiltrate the area. Every now and then, you have rockets, so we have to be careful. I mean, there were times, I think, definitely you and I think one other guest basically couldn't join the show because, yeah, the Houthis or whoever has decided to attack at that time of the show, and people had to go to the shelter. And yeah, that cannot be sort of like that is sort of like a thing if you saw that like in a movie that yeah, you have a vulture, you're either thinking of, okay, this is like a World War III scenario, or this is like a third world, sort of like a country that is at a constant state of like warlords fighting each other, not an
mhm,
actual Western country, which you know Israel absolutely is. There is no way you could say that Israel is in any way sort of uh, has any indications of like being sort of like a third world or an unstable country, right? It is.
mhm,
It just has third world enemies around it that
mhm.
Israel is seemingly year after year sort of refusing to really deal with, and rather tries to live with it.
Yeah. Yeah, it feels like that. And then it also kind of feels that when it comes like non-state actors, they do seem to have a bit of a benefit, right, over state actors in different things, right? Because they don't have like goals of war, right, that they're really wanting to achieve. Like the Houthis, what is their end goal here? Right. They don't really have one. I mean, it's kind of just to get to have they won, right? Because what they managed to do is they managed to just get their kind of moment, right, on
Yeah,
TV.
and shut
Yeah.
down the airport, or not like shut down many of the airlines. I
Mhm.
will have to be flying back a bit later, which not that I'm
Mhm.
complaining. Israel is a lovely place. But
Mhm.
yeah, a bunch of airlines had to pretty much cancel them. And you can think like it is one rocket that I'm not sure if it was a rocket or a missile. How much this could have like cost the Houthis. Uh, Probably not much. And if you take,
Oh, I
even if
think
it,
that costs quite a lot. I mean,
yeah, this
a
one
ballistic
probably.
intercontinental, I mean, an intercontinental ballistic missile is still very, it's not cheap to produce.
Well,
I
but
mean, I
they
don't know,
probably got it
they
for
don't pay
free
for it.
from the yeah from Iran. So and yeah, if you think of like what is the sort of like amount of money that was basically
Mm.
now destroyed, or so the amount of wealth that was now
Oh
destroyed
yeah.
by Israel. If you think all the sort of everybody has to cancel flights, like the disruption of area, the disruption of travel, the disruption of, and not just sort of like travel Israel, the disruption all over the world, like people who were flying into Tel Aviv on the day. Some flights had to go completely something different. Some flights had to completely reroute. Some flights were completely canceled, right? Like it's sort of immeasurable. And yeah, I think I said it one time when we talked about the Houthis. The fact that a bunch of like literal savages from whatever piece of shit country can like disrupt Western trade, can like disrupt Western sort of way of living, and nothing is being done about it is I mean it is really unimaginable. Like I cannot even come up with like a comparison like what that would amount to. Like it is ridiculous.
Hmm. Yeah, and yeah, so I mean, even under, the Houthis, we kind of like, they're just a family, they're just a clan, right? So they're not even like, I don't even think that they're like on the level of like savages, right? This is just like a family that have just decided this is the way we're going to make money. That we're just this gang. We're basically a gang of thugs. If they were, which is why it's so difficult to destroy them, because I don't know if anybody, they like, how much worse can things really get for them? I mean, and it just in life, right? I mean, Yemen is such a dump. They're not even in like the real part of Yemen, right? They're not even the good part of Yemen. They're in the crappy part of Yemen, right? They're in like a non-recognized, non-identified, like self-governing part of Yemen, right? So I mean, how do you exact a price here, right? What is the kind of price going to be? If they were like a part of like the Yemenite army, then you'd be able to actually, you'd be able to actually probably do something about it. Um there'd be some price that would be high enough. Um and I mean, and I think as well, it seems to me to be pretty clear that we don't have like good human intelligence. We don't have any human intelligence there, like Israel doesn't have. Um, or at least we didn't have, right? Like when I last heard somebody talk about it like 6 months ago. Um, and it doesn't appear that the United States has very good human intelligence there, because you've been destroying it for so long, right? You've been destroying, military assets, and yet you've not destroyed I mean, it's the capabilities for being intercontinental ballistic missiles. It's not like an RPG grenade. It's not like an RPG launcher, right? It's not like you know, it's not like an RPG launcher. It's a an intercontinental ballistic missile. It's huge, really huge. So the launchers are huge as well. How have they can't hide that easily? Um, and so it something to me about this whole picture doesn't make a lot of sense. I can't make a lot of sense out of it, because it I mean, you would think about it in a normal sense. You find the launchers, you destroy them, right? You're the United States of America. You can do that. Um, but maybe nobody has good human intelligence there for them to actually, map it out and kind of understand, okay, this is where all of their assets are. This is when they, smuggle in the raw materials. This is when they, because it's not easy to get um like it's not easy to either manufacture or import these items, right? From I mean, from Iran. Okay, so it seems to me like something in this whole kind of, something in this whole picture, it's it's very opaque, right? Like, because traditionally you would know, it would be unambiguous, right, where their military assets are. So those military assets are not that, they're not that easy to conceal, especially like ones that are this big, right? So even if they manufacture them in another place, and you can see, by the way, because Israel has very good human intelligence going on in Iran, and that's why you see so many of these factories and so many of these, warehouses that are just all of a sudden catching fire, right? Because we understand, like, this is where the military assets are, right? This is where they are. Just search and destroy, sabotage. But with the Houthis, it feels like it's, something weird is going on here, right? Um, that, with the amount of firepower that's been dropped on them. Okay. So how have you not managed to destroy? How many do they have? How many, how many of these intercontinental ballistic missiles do they have? Do they have manufacturing capabilities? You know, what's going on? And I think that um even the signal gates, I didn't get the feeling that anyone had any idea really, like, what was next. Because Yemen is such a, it's such a, it is so off, I want to say it's off the beaten track, but it's obviously nowhere that anyone has been interested in for the last, however many years. No one's cared. And you can see how long it must take them to build up a network, okay, of informants and, insiders in the regime. I wonder if they're ever going to stop. I wonder if they're ever going to stop.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the whole thing is sort of like ridiculous. Like the you talked about the signal gate, and the sort of the strike that was around the signal gate was like successful, right? It fully went according to what it was supposed to do. It did everything it was supposed to do. I can't remember if Trump himself did a strike before that, but I know there were strikes from under the Biden administration. Like the whole time, something was being done, right? The ports were strike, and yet after every attack that there is like a quiet for a bit, and then yeah, the Houthis simply sort of come back and try to do something again. And yeah, after this, they'll probably get struck again, and yeah, then they might come back. So sort of like the big question is sort of like what can we do to sort of like fully figure this out to make sure this doesn't happen, because you cannot wait for them to actually hit something. You cannot, what is that sort of like line? We have to get lucky every time. They have to get lucky once. Like one
Mm-hmm.
successful Yemeni strike will be like devastating, right? Like if
Yeah.
this one hits something
Mm-hmm.
real, that will be devastating for Israel. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
It's just whether or not we can go to, I mean, I don't know I don't know how we can wage war with them if we don't understand if we don't have any human intelligence network there, and we haven't had ever. And the West, I don't think the West has either. Just because it's like you rely on people to tell you information, right? And you rely on people, you build these things up for years and years and years and years, and you lay the foundation for that, right? And Israel's never had to do that there. It's not like Iran where you can see like, oh, they know everything, right? You can just see they know everything. And they have great relationships with Azerbaijan, so Israel has great relationships with Azerbaijan, so they're able to actually like develop a network there of Iranian Azerbaijanis, okay, or Azerbaijani Iranians, right? So who are able to go in and out, right? And even I know that Israel was also able to very much leverage like smugglers. Okay, so they were also able to develop a relationship with smugglers, like bootleggers, right? Who were going into Iran, like Kurdish bootleggers, right? And they were able to penetrate that as a network and then use them, right, as for assassinations. I even, the last Iranian scientist that was killed, what was his name? Can't remember. He was one of my favorites. It was like, I think it was about 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago. He was killed by bootleggers, right? He was killed by Kurdish bootleggers, and that was a network that Israel had cultivated for, I imagine, 30 years. Well, 25 years. I mean, long, long time, I imagine. Um, and that you're seeing. So I don't know. I would love it for someone to but I guess, like, what are they going to say? Yeah, we don't know how to do this. We don't know how to go to war with them. We don't have the ability. Hang tight. I don't know if they can say that on a political level. They have to just say, yeah, we have it totally under control and we'll attack them when we want to do it, which is like, okay.
Well, hopefully on the reality show we'll talk about something a bit more definite that we can tell, something a bit more positive. Although we've heard good words or good sentences before about what will happen when something doesn't happen or something don't happen. Just to mention, basically Netanyahu said that Hamas has 2 weeks. Basically, they didn't say 2 weeks. They said basically until the end of Trump's visit, which is supposed to be in 10 days or so. They have until
Mm-hmm.
the end of Trump's visit to either make a deal or or Israel will pretty much fully go into Gaza, fully occupy Gaza for the foreseeable future, is what was said. So that sounds optimistic, but I guess we'll have to see where that will go. So you can join us for the reality show in just about a few minutes or so. With that, Alex, any last thoughts? And where can people find you?
No, just Viva Viva Yemen, I guess. Yeah, just can't wait. I actually would really like to go to Eden, and I'd really like to go to these places at some point. I don't think it'll ever happen, but I do have quite a bit of interest in seeing it. We have a big Yemenite like community here, right? I have Yemenite, family members, right? Who are so I would actually, well, Edeni, they get very angry when you say Yemen. They're like, we're Edeni. Apparently there's a schism there. I don't really know anything about it, but yeah. Hopefully sometime. Who knows?
Well, I don't know much about schism, but I know Yemen used to be sort of like two different areas. You had like the West Yemen and East Yemen, so maybe that could be one part of it. But I know very little, so just a little bit of history.
Yeah.
So you can join us for the reality show in just about a minute or so. We also have a super chat from Gail who says, "Happy birthday, Daniel! Thank you so much." And yeah, join us for the reality show in just a minute or so. Thank you again, and bye bye.